Tell me what your life was like before you died.
I was living near Boulder, Colorado, which was it still is a huge biking community. I used to bicycle to work like 3 times a week, and that was like 15 miles one way. So I was used to being in traffic. People would see you, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But I had taken a little bit of time off work between Christmas and New Year, that New Year holiday break, that one year, it was 2014. And Colorado winters are actually pretty nice for the most part. There's cold times, but then there's also warm times. And this happened to be fairly warm. So I went out on a bike ride one of those days that I was off from work over the holiday. And I didn't even make it, I think, a half a mile from my house. And went into a traffic circle, which was new back then for, this little town I lived in. People didn't know how to navigate these things. It was not well designed for cyclists. There was a bike lane coming in and a bike lane going out, but nowhere in this traffic circle for a bike to be. And it was very narrow. So I did the best I could navigating it, knowing that there was other traffic around me. And as I'm coming in, there's a very large SUV, like a truck-sized SUV, coming in from my right. And I thought she was stopping. She didn't stop. Turns out later she was texting. And I always use this as a teaching moment. This is why you don't want to be texting while you're driving. She was texting as she was trying to navigate this traffic circle, which was not good for me. She ended up hitting me on broadside, so, like this. And I don't even, like, the first part of this is the only part of this whole experience I don't remember. The rest of it is crystal clear. I somehow I flipped up off the bike and ended up on the hood of her vehicle looking in at her. And I don't know, it really, honest to gosh, it felt like, and as I'm in this, how you hear people talk about like time being dilated? It felt like forever. Like this split second felt like an eternity. And what I'm thinking as I'm going through this accident, it's just like Indiana Jones, that first movie. And if you have that picture in your mind, that's basically what happened to me, except I wasn't in full body armor when this happened. She was so bent on texting that she didn't see this person on the hood of her. She didn't feel the hit. She didn't hear anything. And the other thing is that she had her driving glasses off so that she could text better. So she didn't have, like, her vision was really only clear up to like a couple of feet from her face. So she really didn't see anything beyond like arm's length because she was driving in violation of her license. So anyway, she kept driving, and it really was like that point in Indiana Jones where he's sliding off the vehicle, kind of went over the edge and then underneath. That's basically what happened to me. But when I hit the pavement, I actually heard like bones breaking. So I knew this was not good. And all I'm doing is I'm trying to survive at that point. I somehow I had a little backpack on and there's a chest strap that goes across here. That got hooked on something underneath of her vehicle, something on her axle. I'm still not really sure what. So that was kind of dragging me. But I also reached up, I wasn't even thinking, and I reached up and I grabbed a hold of her axle so that I wouldn't get run over. So think about it, she's in a turn going into this traffic circle. If I wouldn't have done that, her back wheels would have run over me. So I was kind of in a bad spot. Like I didn't have any other options. I mean, I would not have survived that. The first interesting thing that I noticed that all of a sudden there was a part of my consciousness that wasn't in my body anymore. And this was kind of freaking me out because nothing in my training as a scientist, in the physical sciences anyway, had prepared me for that ever happening. We were taught that brain produces consciousness, and once the brain goes, that's it. And all of a sudden there was a part of me, my higher self or my soul, was all of a sudden outside of my body, watching the accident from like maybe 75 feet away, off on the grass, and I'm off on the side. And I had this really unusual dual view of the accident. So there was like what I called the human level of consciousness was still in my body. And that was animal survival, fear, trying to stay alive. And then that other part of me was so different. It was very calm and very loving and just very present and kind of talking me through the whole thing. Like, don't worry, this is going to be okay. It's supposed to happen this way, but you're gonna be fine. And to be able to see the accident from both vantage points was like starting to blow my mind. I had no idea that was even, and I just needed to focus on survival. So I sort of ignored it. I wasn't fully ignoring it, but I was sort of putting it on the back burner to handle later. And I just worked on surviving. So finally, one of the other vehicles in this whole area got in front of this woman's truck SUV and headed her off. And so he stopped her. And that's when, they called, all the bystanders called the paramedics and they got me to the hospital. The funky thing is that separated state of consciousness stuck with me. I was in that dual state for several minutes until the paramedics arrived, and just kind of witnessing. It was very weird to see the accident from both perspectives. And there was a trauma nurse also in a different vehicle coming in at the same time. So the two of them, lucky for me, converged on me and helped me until they got me into the ambulance. Two medical professionals there with me they physically had to hold me down in order to keep me from getting up. So once the paramedics arrived, which was it was a few minutes later, they started kind of prodding on my neck. That's when the pain kicked in. It kicked in with a vengeance. I'd never broken a bone in my body up till that point. Now, the doctors at first didn't think I was going to survive. I had at least 24 bones that were broken in multiple places. So it wasn't like easy bone breaks. This was like a completely fractured spine and just shattered. And that's when they put me into surgery. What they wanted to do was install titanium rods. They were going to do it in my neck and back. They ended up just doing my back so that I could heal properly. They did the best they could given my state. And then all of a sudden, as I was starting to drift off from the anesthesia, that's when I noted that I wasn't in the OR anymore or in the hospital at all. And instead, I felt like I was out on a meadow on a hillside overlooking distant mountains and a valley. And it was just really beautiful. It was misty and summer, kind of a warm summer day. And I thought, well, this is kind of cool. I can hang out here. This was not a hallucination. And I realized that pretty quickly. And that's when I started to think about what else is going on here? And that's when I kind of paid more attention to my surroundings at that point. And that's when I realized, now, wait a minute, I am feeling love coming into me. Now, that can't be, because that's not normal. I felt like I was being hugged energetically with love, and I felt peace. I felt completely at peace and welcomed and accepted. And that's when things started to really click. Like, I wonder if I died back on the operating table. That's when I first realized that I may have died. And then the second thought was, if I did die down there on the operating table, what's this? Because my parents told me I was going to go to hell because I was an atheist. And this didn't make sense, to be loved and accepted. I heard a voice that welcomed me, that this was my home. This is where I belonged. This is ultimately where my soul lives, that you are accepted for who you are, all that wonderful stuff that we all want to hear. So I was there for a while, and then a figure kind of came up to me that looked like a woman. She had long hair, but she was kind of glowy, silvery looking. And she welcomed me, and she said she was going to be my teacher and teach me what I needed to know in order to make my life on earth one that would be worth living, is the way that she put it. Meaning, I'm here to help you clean up your life, basically, and help you get on a path of love, because those were the two main things that she wanted to accomplish with me, was teach me about living a loving life, living a love-based life, and then learning what to do to kind of get my life back on its track where it was supposed to be originally. When she said she wanted to send me back here, I was like, that's not going to happen. Just take me to see my dad and my sister. You know, I've had people that predeceased me, and I'm like, I just want to go talk to my dad or my sister, but that was not to be. I'm kind of happy in hindsight that they didn't, otherwise it would have been even harder to come back. I agreed to do. She said, you agreed to go back. So she showed me like this video in the air, like a past life review or a life review, and in the air in front of him. And that's basically what happened to me. And the funky thing is that the memories come with it and the emotions come with it, reminding me why I came here into this life and what I had wanted to accomplish and agreed to do. So I just agreed to go along with her. So she took me on this little jaunt. It looked to me like we were on this little journey, and I learned a lot of different things in different, there was a lot of things I needed to learn. The nature of divine love and how to be loving to each other here on earth and what that really means. And the nature of gratitude, what gratitude really is as another form of love. And I learned things like the importance of connecting with other people. So it was really challenging, kind of be in this transition state between human body and this soul essence that we are. And I was brought to this pond, my little videos on top of this, all over the surface of this pond, like thousands of little videos. And when I would focus on one of them, I was pulled right back into that bit of my life. So each one of those videos was an incident in my life where I was interacting with someone, and some of them were positive, some were negative, some were neutral, but it was my way of reviewing what happened. The powerful part of this was when I would focus on one of those incidents, not only would I re-experience it from my perspective in that moment, but I was also somehow in the head and heart of the other person I was interacting with. I had an incident where I said something somewhat nasty to my younger sister. I got to experience it from her perspective as well as mine. And feeling her hurt, all I needed was one of those. Like, all I needed to see was one of those. And it was astoundingly transformative. Like, at that moment, how strongly we're connected, how much your words and actions impact those around you. I was brought to another meadow, and my teacher was trying to make me feel lighthearted, I think. And we were doing what I used to love as a kid. I would spot cloud animals, up in the sky, which is weird. Like, this is the afterlife. Why are there clouds? In the middle of that tirade, she sent me back, and I woke up in the recovery room in the middle of the tirade. The anesthesiologist was there, and one of the nurses was there. They were checking up on me. What I found out later, I coded for about 2 minutes or so, somewhere between 1.5 and 2 minutes. And then they just said, well, okay, I guess she's fine. They got me back, and they just continued on with the surgery. So I was out in surgery for about a total of 2 hours, maybe a little bit more. That's how much, human time this took. So I came back, and they had me on pain meds for a couple of days. Now, I felt heavy, like the body felt heavy, but not in pain. I was laying in bed for a couple of days. So the surgery was Monday. By Wednesday morning, I was up and walking around. I also refused pain meds at that point because I told the doc I don't really need them. So I really wanted to do the best I could to change my life for the better. Now, I had no idea where that was going to lead me. I just thought, well, I'll do my thing, and I'll help my friends and help my family and just be me, but in a slightly different way. That was hard. I'll fully admit that was really challenging. Luckily, I had some really good core friends that loved me no matter what. So there was that core group of people, and 2 of my sisters were just right there with me. They were already spiritual. For me, it's helping other people in whatever way that I'm allowed to do that, and helping people live that more creative, less fear-based, more love-centered life. For my own higher self, I think It's to learn how to live in that state of love in a whole bunch of different circumstances, because I've been presented with a lot of them. And part of that is also learning to live in that state of creativity. And creativity doesn't just mean painting or whatever creative endeavor. It's the living creatively, living from a place of being curious and open and expansive.